That's Jeffrey Dahmer, and in a civil case where not he was being sued, but the city was being sued, and he was one of the witnesses and had to answer questions under oath. You look at him there, looks much different than he did in his criminal case, and I think you have almost a better realistic look at who Jeffrey Dahmer was. As I mentioned, this hour we're taking a look at Jeffrey Dahmer because here at Court TV covered his actual trial. Let's take a listen to what his defense attorneys had to say in their opening statement. Again, this trial was cut into two pieces. The first piece of the trial was, did he commit the murders? And he admitted to it and pleaded guilty. The second part was responsibility, which meant his mental state. Was he responsible legally for those murders, or was he legally insane? Let's bring in our guest. Joining me now in New York City, Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist of Inside the Criminal Mind, Dr. Carole Lieberman. Dr. Carole Lieberman, let me ask you about what we heard there. This is from the trial in the opening statement: paraphilia, necrophilia. How common is that? And where does that come from? How does that get inside someone's mind?
Well, there are lots of different types of paraphilias, but certainly necrophilia, the being sexually excited by dead bodies and wanting to have sex with dead bodies, as Jeffrey Dahmer did. That is from, all psychological problems comes from their childhood. And Jeffrey Dahmer had a really interesting childhood in that he was very much neglected, abandoned. His father was a chemist, and he worked, was workaholic and worked away from the home a lot of hours. And his mother, I think she was probably a borderline, and she was very demanding of attention. She didn't give much attention to him. And then when his little brother was born, she, whatever attention there was, she gave to the little brother. So one of the things that Jeffrey Dahmer has said was that he wanted to, part of why he wanted to eat these people, his victims, was he wanted someone to stay with him. First of all, he wanted to have somebody's company. And the way that, before he started necrophilia, he drugged his victims and so on. He was trying to keep them with him. He wanted that company. He wanted that attention. And, obviously he took it to much greater lengths. Absolutely.
He survived. He survived. That's how Jeffrey Dahmer got caught. Yes. Dr. Carole Lieberman, he survived. He's had a really, really difficult time with the rest of his life. I don't even know if folks know where he is, Tracy Edwards, these days, but that whole scene, he's laying down saying, "I'm going to eat your heart." Unthinkable. Yes.
And to try to have the presence of mind to figure out what to do or say to get out of it. Jeffrey had this keen sense of picking his victims. He knew who he could lure back to his apartment. Obviously here he picked someone who he didn't realize that this man was going to be able to escape, but that's a big part of it, and yes, what do you do? How do you feel when you hear someone's telling you, "I'm going to eat your heart"? Of course, that's terrifying, and he must have survivor's guilt, with this Netflix playing and so on, and the victims are unhappy about it, but he would be unhappy about it too, because it brings back all this survivor guilt.